Hi, Lisa.
Hello. You
How are you
okay?
doing?
I'm good. I'm all right. Yeah. All the better for seeing you.
Thank you. Friday again.
I know.
Yeah, it's good to see you as well. I've been
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we have another conversation ahead of us,
We do?
and um, after a bit of kind of not knowing, I suppose, what we might talk to about today, we decided to just trust what came up and what felt right for us, and that is revisiting something that's come up before for us in these conversations, which is about fear.
Mm.
Fear.
Yeah.
And fear in these times, I suppose, specifically, but also how generally we deal with fear when it comes up, what our
Yeah.
reactions might be, and how might we deal with it differently.
Yeah.
So to begin with, an introduction again, I'm Ruth Coates, and I'm a psychotherapist based in East Lothian.
Hello, and I am Lisa Johnson. I'm a coach at Go Train East Rocks and also owner of Super Being.
And just to begin with, I found something on I think it was Instagram that I kind of sent to you earlier, didn't I? It's a bit of something to get us going. Thinking about
Yeah.
fear, and I do love an acronym. And this, it says fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So I thought that could be our guide today,
Yeah.
because I can definitely see my response in both of those,
Yes.
and maybe all sorts of different places in between as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely little acronym. I think, I think we probably can see ourselves, everybody can see themselves, hopefully in both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like fear has those two purposes. I mean, it has a purpose. Fear is a motivational emotion
Yes.
in that it will teach us to run, panic and run, or it
Yeah.
will teach us to act more intentionally, I suppose, to fight for something,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
achieve something, to overcome
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Or,
It's
it's the bear, it's the flight or fright, it's
fight
that,
or flight.
yeah.
Exactly. That's it, summarized. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's an interesting thing. I think we all experience it very differently, and we've talked before about how that manifests in you, in me, in us as human beings, and it can be anything: fear of being disappointed, fear of disappointing, fear of
Mm.
not being good enough, fear of someone not liking you, fear of someone being better than you, fear of not fitting it all in. Do you know, it's so baseline common,
Yeah.
and maybe we don't see it as fear,
Mm-hmm.
as well. Maybe we don't read that as fear. Maybe we read that as stress, anxious, anxiety. But it does boil down to being afraid of not being the best that we think we are, or
Mm-hmm.
that other people think we can be.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, if we were in our own natural habitat, in our home, in our safe, caring, loving part of who we are, we probably would be less concerned about what out here in the outside world thinks, expects,
Yeah.
because we know we are doing the best that we can be and doing the best that we can do.
Yeah, I think you just made me kind of connect something for myself actually, in that I think fear is about seeking safety, and it's about seeking that home in yourself, or that home in others that you love and love being with. I
Mm-hmm.
think the fear is about that. It's a very protective, primitive survival energy, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's proliferated in these modern times, and especially now,
Yeah.
so that it's maybe more common. And I loved what you said about it can be really a part of stress. We mistake it maybe for stress, or we put it under that umbrella and we don't maybe recognize it as fear.
Yeah.
um but that's a really common, probably daily experience.
Oh God, yeah.
Mm.
How many times a day, a minute, every 10 minutes does something rattle through your head that makes you go, oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of those, it's maybe just you don't maybe see it as fear, but it's that, oh, will I get that done? Oh, what's going to happen? It's kind of that, and it can be very overwhelming, and it can be very destructive, because how much time, energy that we give the thought of fear, will depend on how we view our own reality of exactly what is going on right here, right now.
Yeah. It's almost like fear plus the thoughts about fear create more of that experience.
Well, yes, that's it. And then that experience you interpret to be your existence, your reality. And I think the sweet, lovely thing is that it isn't. Right here, right now, it isn't. But yes, there's absolute power in acknowledging the feeling, which has been created by the thought. I am thinking I am fearful. I'm now feeling fearful. And that's absolutely fine. I think it's not to say, oh, well, if you're feeling fear, thinking fear, that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with you. You are completely and utterly 100% whole and human for having that thought.
Yeah.
It's just what you do with it that then will impact your whole emotional and mental well-being.
Yeah, and we could kind of generalize that to all our emotions, couldn't we?
Totally, yes.
If we really acknowledge and feel them, take the time to feel them, and then we don't necessarily react in habitual ways, or we may offer ourselves what we need in that moment rather than short-circuiting to the old ways or something. So I find when I'm fearful, and I spoke to you a bit earlier, didn't I, about this week, where I've kind of I've been quite happily going on in quite a controlled little bubble. Sometimes I'll look at the news maybe once a day, maybe less than that. But this week, I've opened up a bit more to that, and alongside that, a lot of fear came in again about the state of the world, about seeing loved ones again. When will that ever happen? Could go on and on. But I felt it physically. I felt the fear come back physically. So yeah, where was I going with that? I think it's a really normal response to these times where we don't have a sense of control. We have a very real thing that's happening that's affecting people's health and people's livelihoods as well. So for me, I want to kind of acknowledge that what's helped me this week is actually it's so sane to feel fear right now. And that when I kind of got to that point, I was like, oh God, I can relax with it. It's just normal.
So letting it come.
Yeah.
When you experience it there and then, let it be and let it go.
Yeah, exactly. It's about the reaction. It's about what we do next. And
because I think when we're in that state of mind where we're in fear and we are frightened and we are pent up, and I think a lot of the time it's exacerbated because we are out here with our thinking. We're in next week, we're in tomorrow, we're in 3 weeks time, wherever we're at, but we need to come back to right here, right now, which will be guaranteed, it will be a much safer, happier, calmer, wiser place, and it's enough for you to manage. It's enough, because way out here, tomorrow, next week, 3 weeks, that's just too much. It's too big and it's overwhelming, and that will take you off on a massive roller coaster of of complete horror show. Don't even go there. Don't get on it. Just come back.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to acknowledge, oh my God, I'm away into 3 weeks' time when this lockdown might be lifted. You have no control over that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So to come back home and settle into your little wise self, which is safe and kind and much more settled down, it's a nicer place to live until the next big thought comes along
Yeah.
and knocks you sideways.
I just want to be like maybe focus a bit more closely on that, because we're maybe saying something that's easy to say, but quite hard to find the map for.
Sure.
So being with your fear, or acknowledging your fear, or finding that safe place within, how do you do that?
Well, how I do it, I suppose I can only speak for me. I think, well, as I believe that as you get to know yourself better and how you operate, so how this does its thing. So whether it carries you off into that rolling sea, into the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, when you're like, oh my God, I'm all the way out here without a paddle, or you're on that roller coaster, or you're on that very fast train, and you happen to get a glimpse of being off it, being in the calm, being in the off the train, or being, you know, off the roller coaster just briefly, no matter how briefly, you know that you can. It doesn't matter how briefly, you know you have the capability and the ability to come back from it. So it's kind of, it is rational. There is a bit of rational thought comes in, and there's a bit of kindness comes in. So it's Lisa, it's okay. Come back. Look, what can you, it's about asking, it's about finding that truth. What can you do right now about that? Is what you're thinking, that fear thought, is it impacting you right now? Right here, right now? No. So bring the answers back, you know, have that questioning. But if you don't know yourself, maybe as well, then yeah, I can imagine it would be very much more difficult.
Yeah, because we might be so used to fear, and you could call that anxiety and panic.
Yeah.
That we're actually not available to ourselves. So for me, it's about so in my kind of work, I encourage. So when we say kind of being with your feelings, it's actually about bringing some silence and stillness with it. And that can be really helpful to focus on the breath then, and actually sit in stillness. And actually, you know, movement can also be good for that as well, but gentle, slow movement, but it would always actually be in line with the breath. And for that is actually about connecting, you know, connecting with yourself. But it's about neural connections. It's about fear is such a primitive, your old brain, reptilian brain lights up, and that's the bit that can get carried away. And the I need to act, fight or flight, and actually shuts down your thinking brain, this new bit that we have here. So in order to kind of connect that back, so that we can invite those thoughts of how am I feeling, those reflective, really sophisticated thinking, how we've evolved as human beings, that's not available when you're really stuck back in here. So to be able to breathe and teach your body, your physiology, that you're safe, that actually lights your brain back up. So you can recruit this thinking brain again into that plan of where am I, how am I, what can I do? And for me, that's the map. That's the map too.
That's a good map. I think the breath is very important. I probably do it subconsciously now.
Great.
I think I probably do just kind of go into that breathing. You know, if I'm about to, like tonight, when I went to go and grab a kettle to make myself the tea before coming on here, it was empty. You'd have thought somebody put an explosion in here. I was just internally, though it didn't come out. But yeah, and it's that kind of it's all right. You know, I mean, as simple as this, just put the water in the kettle, fill it up,
Yeah.
put it back on the hob, and
Yeah.
there will be tea.
Yeah. 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 It's recognizing those reactions, isn't it? And the more you do it, the more you can kind of, like you say, bring the breath in and
Yeah.
have that self-talk.
Yeah.
The more you can do it, because your brain knows that you can reach safety
Oh, totally.
quicker
And
that way.
that's the neural
The
pathway, isn't it?
plasticity, yeah.
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 It's like, oh yeah, I remember a time. Oh yeah, you know, and I'm going to do
Yeah. It
that. And I'm going to,
learns.
because that
Yeah.
felt good. I want to
Mm.
be feeling good. I want to maybe try and get back to there. And also, I also think it's important to say as well that in those moments of trying to get back, you know, because you've experienced how nice it is when
Mm-hmm.
when you've taken in the breath and when you've been calm, to not be too hard on yourself if you can't get back right now.
Yeah.
You know, just it's okay. You will eventually. You
Mm-hmm.
will be patient and be accepting that it's maybe taking a wee bit longer than you would like, but that you will return to safety and
Yeah.
home, and it will be okay.
It's that kind self-talk, isn't it? I
Yes.
recognize that again in how we talk to each
Yeah.
other. It's like that's
Yeah.
what we need to remind ourselves to do, is treat ourselves like a small child, actually. And if one of our children was feeling fearful, what might we do to help them, you know?
Well, the last thing you'd say is, buck your ideas up and get a grip. You just
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be so consoling, you'd be so kind, you'd be so thoughtful, you'd be so caring,
And
you'd be
soothing.
and soothing and gentle.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's all anyone needs.
Mm-hmm.
The basic human requirement to settle, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
And if
yeah.
we, you know, if we don't have touch, do you remember we covered that before? If we don't have the touch of somebody just simply placing their hand on you to say it's okay, which is for me just transformational.
So settling.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that just disarms me like that.
Yeah.
So I love physical touch. But for people who are living on their own, who can't access that, do you remember we did that? You did that
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
lovely touching thing to be able to bring yourself back to
That connection.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's also amazing as well.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a huge thing, and and I know that, you know, that some of us almost sometimes we're more comfortable living in that anxiety and fear
Yeah.
because it fuels us.
Yep. And it's what we know
Yeah.
as well. And it can take a while. This is definitely not, I guess we're thinking about fear in these times, aren't we? About
Yeah.
how maybe we're more likely to be feeling fear
Yeah.
when there's so much that we don't know. There's so much out of control.
Yeah.
But if someone is used to living in fear, then
Yeah.
it's actually going to take a lot longer to move out of. But that actually feeling less fear is really possible.
Totally. Yeah.
With these kind of practices, I suppose.
Yeah. And how lovely if anyone was listening to this to relate to that, to be able to sort of see a little bit of light in that good part. That if we can dim the light back here, we can light up the big light here, which as you say, you become so much more available to you first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
then,
exactly, first and foremost, and then for others. Yeah.
Which is just a fantastic realization. That just lights up a light inside me, just talking about it, because I suppose that I personally would feel that the need for me to be in that presence of mind is much greater than to be in the other place.
Yeah.
But you know, as we said earlier, I think the acceptance is hugely important as well. Sometimes we are where we are, and we have to just accept, and maybe just accept that for even a whole day, we can't get to the quiet mind.
Yeah, yeah. And really think about what we need, you know, in our kind of first aid kit for that at this time. You know, what are the things that help us feel safe and soothed?
Yes.
You know, it could be it could be an essential oil. It could be a rock that you like to hold. I mean, I'm just talking about myself there on both counts, but it could be anything really, but it doesn't have to be one thing every time. So if at the moment we're talking in my work about like self-care kits really, and having a box where you can put these things in, in a special place in your home that you know you can go to. Because when you're feeling in that place, you maybe don't have that list readily available. That's going to help. That's going to help. But if you know there's a box that you can go, oh, right, I can
That's
have a
a
sniff of this.
brilliant
Or,
idea.
yeah, it's great.
That's fantastic. So practical.
Yeah. And really
I love
self-nurturing as well.
Love that. How lovely is that to do that for yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, it just keeps, just a thought come into my head, ridiculous thought. It's like when you're going to have a baby.
Yeah.
Have the bag ready.
Yeah. But why are we only taught to do that at certain times in our lives, you know? Why not with all of our experiences?
That idea.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I am definitely going to maybe do that because, and I think we should ask what would you have in your wee box? Your wee first aid kit?
Yeah, brilliant question.
Yeah, love that.
And if we don't put that out there, we'll see if everyone's got to the end of the video.
Yeah.
And it's a test. Comment if you got here. What's in your first aid kit?
Yeah.
Great. Well, what kind of main takeaways have you got from today then?
Well, I love the idea that we are a product of our thoughts.
Yeah.
Of all of them. Of our messy ones, our mucky ones, our grey ones, our bright ones, our lit up ones, and our happy ones. And we are just one big ball of energy. And through that energy, we are just a ball of thoughts. But I think to try and contain ourselves with the thoughts that don't serve us brilliantly, you know, they're the ones that don't maybe, that they give us the feeling of maybe heaviness, of despair, of anxiety, of hopelessness, and they can be that rotten. To know that, and it does take a little bit of getting to know you, that you can find a way, but it's your way, whether it's holding the stone, sniffing the oil, breathing, whatever it is, walking, whatever it is for you, that you can find some sense of returning to you.
Yeah. And you can mean connection, or it can mean safety, or it can mean home. I love all of the words that we've used today to describe that. Yeah, I guess mine is that I've just gotten a lot from this conversation actually around it. I'll have more thinking to do after it. But I guess mine is that it's perfectly normal to feel fear in general. And perfectly normal to feel fear at these times. And that's the conversation I've had with myself this week. And it's okay to feel it.
So you're not mental, you're not crazy, you're just human.
Yeah, exactly, just human. Yeah. Lovely. All right then. Thanks,
All right.
Lisa.
All righty. I will
Good to
see you next week.
Yeah,
You
see you
too.
next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.